Today on the show, we are going to be talking brain wellness for the entire show. We have the Iron Cowboy himself, Mr. James Lawrence, on the show talking about his 101 triathlons that he did back-to-back 101 days, as well as Dr. Hatch from Brain Rehab Clinic, who's going to talk about how he helped him recover. And this guy, he's going to tell you a thing or two that he knows about Ironmans.
I hate them. When I lived in Kona, all these in-shape people would come over and make me look bad. But
right?
You know what? You got to have room for them.
Yeah, you do. All this and more coming at you right here, right now. Here we go.
And welcome back to the show. Holly Love, I'm Trip Mitchell, and I have got something I want to get off my chest. Charles Barkley said we were boring you-know-what town.
Right.
Charles, and I love you.
As we all do.
He is the best studio host in any sport, anytime, ever. I mean,
I had a huge crush on him as a child because, he was a big basketball star against the Jazz back in the day. My mom kind of liked sports. I thought he was super hot.
Well, right now, he and Kenny and the whole crew on TBS and TNT are amazing. But during All-Star Weekend, the state of Utah actually opened up a pop-up liquor store at the Salt Palace.
Unheard of. Ever before.
And I think a lot of people in this state who maybe are a little bit more conservative thought that would be enough to get everyone to fall in love.
Right.
We are not New York. We are not Vegas. We are an amazing city with 14 ski areas that are some of the best in the world. We've got 5 national parks. We've got almost 20 state parks that are amazing. We have enough. Let's not worry about trying to compete with New York and Las Vegas and Paris.
We are an outdoor recreational state where people come here to have a really great experience downtown because we service our conventions like no other. Like we proved with that right there, to make it fit whatever your needs are, as well as the opportunity to go outdoors and enjoy yourself from the Red Rocks to the mountains. I mean, it does not get any better than this state. So, I mean, if you don't like it here, go back to Vegas, dude. Arizona, wherever you're from.
Well, I moved here from Vegas, and I'm not going back. But I just wanted to get that off my chest. When we come back, we're going to be talking some triathlons.
Yes, we are. And we're going to learn the difference between triathlon and Ironman because Trip knows. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
TALK365 TV's Wellness Minute is brought to you by wellness team expert, Dr. Grant A. Fairbanks.
Hello, I'm Dr. Grant A. Fairbanks, board-certified plastic surgeon. I'm here with your TALK365 TV Wellness Minute. Today we're talking about breast augmentation and all the different ways it can be done. There are various options for breast augmentation or breast enhancement. The most popular is the silicone gel breast implant. The other is the saline implant. But the one gaining momentum is the fat grafting or fat transfer for breast augmentation. This is where we take the fat from the belly, the hips, the thighs, and put it in the breasts. I offer other types of breast surgery such as the breast lift and the breast reduction. To learn more about the various breast surgeries, you can go to my website, fairbanksmd.com. There's a summary on the procedures and see before and after photographs. Plus, for a limited time, we have free consultations here in the office. Just mention TALK365 TV. I look forward to meeting you.
Today's wellness news you can use is brought to you by Brain Rehab Clinic.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so in this segment, I got a chance to chat with the Ironman himself, Mr. James Lawrence, and he talked about his latest experience with his 101 triathlons that he did back-to-back 101 days in a row. Now, what I didn't understand about this was the recovery process. I mean, I understand that this is a feat of nature. This is a level of mental toughness that I can't even begin to understand. The crossover between mental and physical gets really thin. But what it does to your body at the end is crazy. But Trip, I also didn't understand the difference between Ironman and triathlon and how to use it correctly. So before we dive in too much to what exactly each is, explain the difference between the two.
Well, I want to brag about my mental toughness.
Yes.
The other day I went to the gym and worked out without my earbuds.
Oh,
But I
I
sat in
couldn't
the
do
car
that.
and go, God, I don't want to have to do that. I have to. Anyway, so I was lucky enough to live in Kona, Hawaii, where the Ironman, the original Ironman was set. And Ironman is kind of a brand name for...
It's like the Gatorade.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
triathlons are amazing. And a full triathlon, which our guest, no one's ever done anything like this in the history of man, but it's amazing, is a couple mile swim, then a 100-mile bike ride, a little bit more, and then a full marathon, which is 26 miles, 385 yards. And to do that one day is
Insane.
9 to 12 hours of insane, just insane. To do it the next day and the next day and the next day, this guy is superhuman.
Right.
And what goes on in his brain, because there's no way, it's just insane. And
He has a superpower, for sure.
oh, it is beyond superpower. And to have that degree of ability to recover and to push yourself, it's incredible. And if we could take his brain and
Adopt it just a little.
if we all had a little bit of that, because just think of the small things that go on in life and we go, oh, the heck with it.
Well, I think what it is so inspirational when you watch his story. I found him back in 2018, so I'm a pretty huge fan of him and his family and his whole team. I started following him from a podcast that I found, and I was just like, wow. And that was when he had done 50 triathlons and he was traveling for that one. And so you'll hear he's like, I thought if I could control the travel, I could do more than the 50. He did the 101, but what is so amazing about him and humbling and truly inspiring is the way he so candidly talks about the recovery and how human he really is. Like how much it really took a toll, how depressed at the end you are. Like, because everyone's there for the rally, but then press leaves once it's over and you did the thing and you are left with a broken brain. So a little bit later in the show, we'll get a chance to chat with Dr. Hatch about what that means. But he has really done the work because there is a recovery process to this that is absolutely insane.
Well, God, we are so lucky to have someone on the show like that and learn a little bit about what it takes to overcome adversity and be a better person.
And if you want to know more about his story, I recommend that you just Google him. He's been on a million podcasts that I love, and I've listened to probably all of them. His wife and his daughters are part of his intimate team, and they are an incredible team as a family. The whole thing is very inspiring. And then also Dr. Hatch was on his podcast, The Grit Show, so you'll definitely want to check that out as well. And here's the Iron Cowboy himself.
Talk 365 TV's Wellness Minute is brought to you by Brain Rehab Clinic.
Hey, my name is James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy, and I'm best known for doing 50 Ironmans, 50 days in 50 states, and most recently, 100 consecutive full-distance triathlons with no days off. And once you complete something like that, you realize how powerful the mind is, and everybody's fascinated with preparation and execution, and then when recovery happens, you realize how much trouble you're in. And I've had at least 6 concussions, and then also broke my back at that Conquer 100. And the back has healed itself, but I now have this incredible pain. Never thought I'd run again until I found these guys right here, and Dr. Hatch is incredible, and he has totally changed my life. I'm now back to running, pain-free. In fact, I'm going to the World Championships this year to be competitive again, and that I never thought would be possible. So thank you so much to everybody here, and I would recommend it to every single person that's ever experienced any trauma or anything in their lives. This place will change you.
This will be everlasting love. This will be.
Fall in love twice a day with Talk 365 TV on CW30 or anytime online. Talk 365 TV. It's an everlasting love.
Today's Talking Wellness is brought to you by Brain Rehab Clinic.
And welcome back to the show. An amazing story.
Right? So coming up next, we're going to be talking with Dr. Hatch now about James Lawrence's brain scans, what actually was going on inside of his brain based on the diagnostic testing that Dr. Hatch does, which is rigorous. They do eye tests, balance tests, and everything that they have been doing to help him recoup, to have him be able to say that he will be competing again this year, which you explained to me will be in Kona, because that is what the Ironman is, right?
It is, and
it's a bigger one. It's a bigger, badder. Meaner.
But Kona, you think of Hawaiian Islands and you think of a soft, sandy beach. Kona is like the moon.
Wow.
Where they run and do the bike ride. It's on the King K Highway, just north of Kona, and it is brutal. If you watch it on NBC, which always carries it, and I remember last year I was in the gym in St. Louis watching the Ironman, and I had one of my best workouts because I kind of got guilted in going harder.
Right.
But these guys and gals are amazing, and special needs people do it. It's inspirational, and humans can do almost anything.
Right. Well, and what's great about this is he really thought the 101 was his contribution to humankind, and he was like going to hang up his cleats and pretty much be done with the whole thing. And what you'll hear is that Dr. Hatch helped him be able to get to competing shape again, and how he did it, and how if you're an athlete out there from any level, whether you're high school all the way up to pro to elite, like these athletes competing in Ironmans, and you are having any trouble at all, you should definitely look into Brain Rehab. Or if you want to perform better, even if you're not having trouble, because you'll see from this interview that Dr. Hatch has the ability and the technology to take your brain to the next level. Here you go.
TALK365 TV's Talking Wellness is brought to you by Brain Rehab Clinic with wellness team expert Dr. John Hatch.
Hey everybody, welcome to TALK365 TV's Talking Wellness series. Today we are back at Brain Rehab with Dr. John Hatch. Hi, Dr. Hatch.
Hi, Holly. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having us. I am super excited for the topic today because we have gone the gamut. We have talked about functional neurology and the aging brain, the developing brain, the concussive brain, and what I've learned from doing those interviews is that people will have a huge boost in their athleticism and in like their golf game is a very common one I hear during our testimonials. Like, oh my gosh, and then my golf game got better. It's like a byproduct, but something that you do all the time that we've not had a chance to talk about is you work with pro athletes and elite athletes, and we're gonna get to talk about a couple specific ones today that I'm super excited about as our case study patients. But let's talk about functional neurology and the athletic brain and how it affects it, and why every athlete, whether you think you've had a concussion or not, should be in here.
Oh, 100%. Because in athletics, you're always dealing with balance and coordination. There is nothing the athletic brain doesn't do with balance and coordination. And everyone thinks, oh, that means yoga. I need to strengthen my core. I need to strengthen my weak hamstring or my glute or my quad, whatever it is. I have been an athlete since I was a little kid. I was a personal trainer for arguably 7 years, and that's what moved me into the field of doctorship, was because I felt like with my athletes I wasn't taken to the level they could be. And you get the mental side of an athlete, but there's always a neurological component. And so many of these elite athletes, they get hit by a car, they get in an injury on the field, and they think, oh, I'm totally fine. This is no big deal. I just have to power through it. And yet their numbers are declining. Their speeds are getting slower. And they don't understand why they're suffering as an elite athlete. I mean, we're talking the best of the best can still get better. I believe that as you balance the system completely from a brain standpoint, this is not strength, right? I could take any patient and see where their weakness is, because it's always dealing with gravity. Gravity is everything, and with our tests we can find exactly where the breakdown is with how the brain is handling gravity, and you can take yourself to new levels and new heights every athlete only dreamed of. And I've worked with some of these pro athletes, and they come back in a stronger, better career that I would argue people would think, oh, they must have done something, they cheated, they took this or took that. But I'm sitting in the back just quietly laughing, because I know we took their brain to new heights, and that's all it took.
Well, I'm thinking that a lot of athletes are very mentally tough, and that whole concept of mental toughness and also powering through the pain would make them the worst at recognizing that they've had a brain injury. I would say that also applies for my situation when I injured my brain, because I was walking out of a party, I slipped, I hit my head, I was embarrassed, and it was like, to me that didn't register as an injury. Now, it was a compounded injury after multiple times once we really started doing the math and looking at my results, and all throughout my life, because a concussion can be affecting you from up to 30 years. And so when you go back that far and you start really thinking, oh yeah, well, there was that car accident, there was that time I was dinged, or that time I was in college sports and I got hit in the head, or you start really doing the math, and it's like, how many people out there that are driven and athletic human beings that are elite or pro athletes right now, or even playing at the collegiate level or the high school level, has had an injury that maybe it's just not registered that it happened, and you don't even know that it's slowing you down. So we have two athletes that we get to talk about that are coming to you right now, and they are our case study patients who are willing to share their stories. And one is the Iron Cowboy himself, James Lawrence. We had a chance to chat with him. It was such an incredible conversation because here he has done so much, and just in the last 2 years he did this 101, which was basically 101 Ironmans consecutively in 101 days, which is insanity in itself, right? You can watch a million podcasts out there. I tell you, go watch it, watch our interview, but he goes into it at length, what it took to do those 101 days. And I know you know that firsthand, what it takes to actually make an Ironman happen and how hard it is. But what I was excited to talk with him about is what happened on day 102. Because I was fascinated on listening to him talk about the drop. And so he really dives into that. And what I want to know from your standpoint, let's talk about his test scores and what you saw. What did that level of athleticism do to his brain?
Well, what we saw with his brain specifically is arguably one of the most fatigued brain I have ever seen in any type of neurological findings. And they're very specific findings. So they show the amount of eye movement and functionality that we're breaking down in his system. It also shows his willpower, his mental power, his ability to push through, and yet the brain wasn't functioning at the level, which is why his training had to decrease, his load had to decrease, because the brain can only take so much. There is a limit to the brain. I know there's a lot of athletes that are like, there's no limits, there's no limits. Well, right now, we know there's still about a 2-hour marathon limit that one person has broken with a very organized system, but can we take that brain to another level? Are there imbalances even in the elite of the elite that we can take to another level? And this is the fun part about an athlete. Why aren't athletes very good after the age of 40? Unless they're playing golf or they're doing something that's not much movement. There's a couple athletes out there, the Tom Brady's and the other baseball players, the pitchers. But if you have an equilibrium balance, you only get as good as you can till 40. The game keeps increasing and your brain's stuck. It can't keep progressing. That's why so many of the athletes decline after 40. And we don't want that. You can keep progressing if you're improving the brain. If you're improving the balance, you can take someone like a LeBron James and keep his career going like he's doing. So what is he doing for his brain, not just the game of basketball? Because practicing isn't making perfect or permanent or however you want to say that. It's about increasing brain function. And here we are, have someone who did something no human's ever done, and that brain is shut down and now it's in autopilot. We've wired it. Remember, it takes 3 months to create neuroplasticity, and he did 101 days. That's plastic now. That's the new brain. And unless you change that brain, it's not coming back, and we got to drive it and take him back to where he was and better. I would argue we'll get him better than he ever was during the 101. Why? Because I think there were still brain findings from his 50 that he did 50 in 50 days in 50 states.
He broke his back in his 50. He had a concussion during the other one. He had wrestling in high school. I mean, he went through a million different stories of times he's probably had a concussion. Well, I'm thinking about the times that we talk about with even the elderly brain, and we have people with the Schlumpf back, and how you're able to fix. You think that's a muscle problem. They've stopped using their muscles. They need to do core workout. This is where this field makes my brain explode inside, and I have to squeegee it out after we've had conversations, and I love it so much because I've seen it here. I've seen someone come in with the hump, get treatment, walk out straight. It had nothing to do with the muscular skeletal system. It was your brain.
And people who have chronic pain, people that run and after 40 minutes they have knee pain. After an hour of training, they have hip pain. I work with some of the ex-college cross-country runners, that had to give up and hang up their cleats because they thought they were done. Their career was over. And yet we do some brain balance exercises that equal their system correctly, and their structural IT bands, their other issues, SI joints, just all that pain goes away, and here they are running. I'm a 40-plus-year-old individual, and I can run a faster mile right now than I did as I was training at the collegiate level for soccer. Like, to play at the high comp level soccer, you gotta be running fast.
Right.
And I run faster now in my 40s than I did at 16 and 18. Why? Because after my concussions, I was just functioning, and now I've actually rehabbed my brain. I'm faster. So I'm doing things I never thought possible. You gotta be able to assess it, find it, and then give the right brain exercises. We created a brain exercise 2 weeks ago that are changing this even better than I was thinking a year ago. We can't expect that our technology is gonna improve, but we're not improving brain function. We're not doing new exercises, new tests. So I'm always looking at new things and how to take the brain to the next level.
Well, I think brain exercises, it's a new concept, but it is the thing that is making age irrelevant. And I think it's that combination of the physical brain and the mental brain. And I know Dennis Parker, our mutual mentor, he used to say, if it's 50% mental, we can handle it through hypnotherapy or therapy or mental toughness or positive thinking.
Yep.
But if it's 50% physical, you gotta go get that fixed.
Yep.
And what's so amazing is if you have someone with mental toughness and their mental game on point and it's just not rocking for them in the athletic world, there's probably something going on with the physical brain, and that's where you come in. And you bring those two together, and it's just like, wow, you really do have superhumans.
Yeah, we have arguably humans that can do things never before.
Right.
And it's so fun, and the right exercise makes everything. And it's not something you can just will yourself. You can't physically do exercise and fix an equilibrium problem in one side of your ear that you're unaware of and sit there and say, I'm gonna figure this out on myself.
Yep.
I'm just gonna do more cross training. I'm gonna do CrossFit because this is different. No, this is a neurological equilibrium issue. And sometimes those little changes does challenge the brain enough that people get results. But you can get it done so much faster, so much quicker, and improve every aspect of your brain. It's not just about the athleticism in an individual, it's also when you can lay down your fastest run of your life. Think of your own confidence, right? When you think, oh, I can't, a sub 6 minute mile is not possible, and you're in your 40s, and all of a sudden you're laying down 5:30s and 5:45s, and that's just an average day of a training, your brain's like, oh, maybe I can do this. And then the mindset comes in.
Right.
And then the mental toughness comes in. You can't have one without the other.
No.
It's just people are trying to do it with just physical exercise and mental toughness. And I would argue that there is always a neurological, because chronic pain.
Right.
Think of the person with the shoulder,
Right.
trying to work that shoulder, and you fix that brain that controls that shoulder. We just always look at the one piece. We don't look at the part
and
that
sometimes
controls
looking
it
at
all.
the piece works.
Sometimes.
But
Yep.
if it's not working,
It's
guess
not
what?
working.
This
There's
is where
more
you
to
need
it.
to come in here.
Uh-huh.
I think the biggest key to my takeaway as far as talking with James today was that he said he first of all thought the 101 was it. Like swan song, hey, I made my mark and this is what I could give to the world. He's enrolled in another huge competition to compete again, which he thought he would never do after seeing you for just how many weeks?
It's been 5 weeks.
I mean, I'm so excited to continue following his journey as well as others that come to you from having an opportunity to meet and hear him talk about it, because it's obviously been a game changer for him. Honestly, if you are someone who has been struggling and you haven't had answers, you need to get in here, check out their website. There are all kinds of online trainings. They offer more information on the brain so that you can learn for yourself if this is the right fit, and then you can fill out the form and get in here and see Dr. Hatch, get the testing, and then you'll see for yourself what's actually going on in your brain and how it correlates to your knee pain or how it correlates to your migraines or no sleep or not being able to pay attention or whatever it is you might be suffering with that you feel like you've had to just settle that, oh, this is my life now. Nope, you don't. At whatever level you are, and especially if you are an athlete or you are an elite athlete that is just doing it because you want to push yourself, like the Iron Cowboy who's inspired us all. All right, Dr. Hatch, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
As always, we love coming down here. We love talking brain. It is always my favorite topic. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Talk 365 TV right after this.
Talk 365 TV's Wellness Minute is brought to you by Wellness Team Expert, Dr. Grant A. Fairbanks.
When I originally came in to see Dr. Fairbanks, I was considering getting my breasts redone because they were almost 20 years old. And Dr. Fairbanks talked to me about the procedure and what he thought would look nice and what would work better. And we came in and talked to him, and I will admit, before I came in, I was looking at magazines. You know, I had all these pictures for him, and Dr. Fairbanks, you know, kindly let me know, well, this girl has different anatomy than you, and that I might not get that look because they were built differently than I was. I felt very comfortable with letting him use his artistic ability. I wanted to go a little bigger than he recommended, and he was willing to do that. I actually wanted to go a lot bigger than he recommended, and he kind of talked me into going a little bit smaller, which I am so thankful he did because they're perfect. And what I love about what Dr. Fairbanks did is he knew so much about bleeding and what can cause contractures. I had capsule formations on my other breasts, and it made them really hard, and he knew exactly what you needed to do to prevent that. So he made me wait, couldn't take any ibuprofen, and he did a fabulous job. I can't even tell you how beautiful. Well, my breasts are very, very beautiful now. Anyway, he's a wonderful person, and he spends time with you, and he does it right, and he knows what size is going to look good on you, and he picked the perfect size for me.
Well, kind of amazing stuff. And if you look at elite athletes, a lot of times the difference in ability is minimal. But it's someone like Michael Jordan, for instance,
Right.
had that killer instinct where he just wanted to beat everyone. And we saw on the series a couple of years ago on ESPN that he just had to win at everything. And, you know, it's the mental thing that gets you to overcome and just keep on going. And if you have that, you know, they say 99% of life is showing up on time. But if you've got that extra little bit, if
Right.
your brain can be operating at 100%,
Or
you can achieve a lot more.
Or even the fact that neuroplasticity is possible, meaning your 100% could actually be brought back to 100% if you've damaged it along the way, and most of us have. And so I think that's the part that is really inspirational, is that there is technology and there are tools and there are ways that you can actually overcome the things, the accidents that you've been in, the things that have possibly brought you back a step. You can come back and even go beyond it. So I think the next 10 years to be able to watch humans' progression will be so much fun, because we've had so much already from what we've learned from hypnotherapy and the emotional side, and the way you can kind of handle all the emotional stuff in order to be able to have the mental toughness. But then from the physical side, when those two come together, man, that is a powerful combination. We got some cool humans coming forward for us, I hope.
We do, and we need them. And I've got another knee replacement coming up, and I'm going to rehab like crazy. I'm going to watch this video.
Okay, I will send it to you to watch on repeat, and I will definitely say subscribe to his podcast, The Grit Show, so we'll both do it, and we'll both get in shape. It's 2023, here we go. We're going to make it happen. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us.